Evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of the Iarmhi Boo podcast. 9 weeks in, lads. Where do they go? Just to make an announcement tonight that we are live on Iarmhi Boo Facebook page as well as on the Iarmhi Boo YouTube channel. Before we start, a quick shout out to all our sponsors. Clark's Bar here in Patrick Street, where we are tonight again. KC Sports, Jeanette Sheds in Kilbeggan, where all going well. We will be next Monday night. Dr.ie, 15 walk-in and online walk-in clinics and online services nationwide. The Tyre Warrior Garage down the Pigeons, you bring the wheels, we supply the tyres. And McManion CRVT in Blair Industrial Estate in Athlone. Tonight, I'm joined on my left-hand side by Alan Mangan, and on my right-hand side, Pat O'Brien and Brendan Shaw, all regular pundits with us. You're all very welcome, lads. Start with... Actually, just have two other little bits of housekeeping to do. I want to give a shout out to Dennis Lennon, one of our pundits who was, I think a lot of people know that he was involved in a work incident and he's recovering as we speak, and please God we'll have Dennis on next weekend. And also to our own Damien Maher, who got married last weekend to Gillian. So Damien and Gillian, congratulations, and wish you all the best for the future. And hope to see you back shortly after the honeymoon, Damien. So, we're going to look forward, lads, to football games coming up next weekend. Now, I'm going to just quickly go through the fixtures, starting with Junior 2. We're not really going to talk about it because we don't know much about them, but I am going to say to our viewers that are listening to this, I have times for these games. They are subject to change with the evenings getting shorter and everything, so games may be pulled on. So I would advise anyone going to games next weekend to check the Westmeath GA website for times. Junior 2 fixtures, Section A, Ballycamoyle versus Rosemount, that's on Sunday the 9th. Sunday the 9th it is, yeah. Loughnavally versus Delvin, they're the two games in that group. Thurles versus St Mary's, a local derby in Section B. Garrycastle versus Colliery, another local derby down there as well. And in that group, Mullingar Shamrocks get a bye. Lads, I don't think that we don't really know enough about either of these sides when we get out and start watching some of these games. But our favourite team, Loughnavally, got a win in the last game. It'll be a big test for them against Delvin this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's. I think it's two teams, or their two first teams, if I'm correct. And these are the games that these teams are going to want to be contesting, and you'd like to see, like I think if everyone in the county would love to see these two teams contesting the final of this, if they could at all. But listen, it was a really good start for Loughnavally last week, and they're only our neighbours down the road from ourselves, and it'd be nice to see them coming out with another victory this weekend. Yeah,
and certainly another victory would be certainly put them a long way down the road towards the knockout stage. Thurles and St Mary's are at the bridge. Mary's had a win last week. I think Thurles had the bye last week, so hard to know what Thurles will have with their senior team. I haven't really played, but I'm sure they have plenty of numbers out there. Garrycastle and Colliery, that's the second time they'll meet this weekend because they're also playing in the senior championship as well. Junior 1 Section A on the 7th of August 7th is on Friday evening. Kilbeggan Shamrocks, the two Shamrocks meet each other. Kilbeggan Shamrocks versus Mullingar Shamrocks. On the 8th, Bunbrusna versus St Joseph's at game in Ballynacarrigy. St Paul's versus Ballynacarrigy is in Bunbrusna. And in Section B, Athlone versus Moat, that's on the 8th of August. The 9th of August then has the Downs in Killucan, and then on the Friday, the 7th of August, St Lomas versus Carlson and Kinnegad. Pat, you've seen Kilbeggan Shamrocks in action in the first round against Ballynacarrigy.
Yeah, Kilbeggan, I suppose, got relegated last year, so there would be, I suppose, looking to get a bounce and get straight back up, I can still recall when they won the junior 2 years ago. I think it was a 2 year... 3 years, 2023. I mean, the excitement. I think it was the longest speech ever James Fox and co gave in Cusick Park, and there was huge excitement or whatever, and rightly so. So look, at getting demoted wasn't the ideal thing to happen last year, but they were a far superior team than Ballynacarrigy, but struggled to get over the line. Ball hung in there, and they let them hang in there. But they have a couple of very nice footballers like Nigel Scally, and there's a Pádraig Carton, a very sweet footballer. He's very athletic, and he knows where the goals. He scored 2 cracking goals that night. But look, they're going to find it tough coming up. I think Mullingar Shamrocks are the dark horse for this competition because of all the talent that they have built up in the last 2 years, say, with underage, and they're coming through the schools and through the under 20, that they have an abundance of young talent. It's not that they have just young players to fill jerseys, they have talented young fellas that are going to be playing at this level, and it'll suit them. It's a great bedding for up the line for Mullingar, so they'll be getting the best out of these lads. So if Kilbeggan don't bring, their shooting boots and get tightened up at the back, they'll be in trouble, because these lads can run and the ground is firm and lively and the ball will be bouncing hard. So it should be the makings of the game of the weekend in that junior.
Check the website for the venue on that one yet, because I think they're struggling just with a venue so far, because I checked it this evening and it's not updated yet, but I'm sure it will be in the next couple of days anyway. Bun and St. Joseph's. Bun, we had Danny McDermott with us the last day. Would have been probably disappointed to lose out to Mullingar Shamrocks, but St. Joseph's had a big win against Paul, so that'll be...
It's a crucial game for Bun now. They'll need to get a bounce back from the last day. They were disappointed, and Joes are quality. They've been thereabouts in that junior one competition for the last few years. And look, Bunbrusna are tough nuts as well. They'll be trying to get a win, but it's going to be a big ask for them against Joseph's.
It's kind of like the elder statesmen against the younger guys. Bun to me are an older team. Always seems to have that, I suppose, older player that's hanging on there and giving great credit to his club, whereas they don't have an awful lot of youth coming through the system. Whereas St. Joseph's have a lot of young lads, Now they're missing Dean Slevin, who would be a big help to them. He broke a thumb there with hurling back a month ago and he's still out. Joseph's, according to themselves, they're not going as well at the minute as they had been over them, even though they were in the last 2 county finals. They're just not going as well as they can, but they have the ability to get there. And I'd say they'd like to get a win under the belt with Kilbeggan coming down the line, because that'll be a real kind of a Celtic Rangers clash if it comes up.
Yeah, but there's 4 out of 6 as well.
Yeah, that's it.
What I mean. So, if you get 2 wins, you nearly get to position 4, and that's all you need to do if you're Bunbrusna. Is get to the quarter final and see what happens after that.
Yeah, because you go, and I think that's a crossover 4+1, 2+3,
exactly.
The group. But obviously, the higher up you finish in that group, the better it's going to be. Paul's disappointed the last day. The Lord took a heavy loss, and Ball then under new management, we heard about Anthony Marr coming in there. I would expect Ballycarrigy would be looking to get off the mark with a win in that one.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's one of those games, as Pat said, we were talking before going on air last week, that it was a penalty that Ballycarrigy missed to bring it back to a draw and went down the field, and Kilbeggan got a goal, so it was a 6-point swing in Kilbeggan's favour. So there was very little in that game, even though Kilbeggan, as Pat said, were probably the better team throughout the game. So Ballin only improved for that, the first championship match, and they were getting hard to get going in the league. So they'll improve for that, and I can't see any other result other than a Ballycarrigy winning that, and it'll be really... you're on the back foot if you lose that game.
Yeah, 2 down, it'll be hard to recover from it, especially with the, there's 4. There's, looking at that table, to me, there's probably 5 tussling for 4 places. Kilbeggan, Mullingar Shamrocks, Bunbrusna, St. Joseph's, and Ball. Now, unless St. Paul's, they had, I think, only scored 3 points.
3 points, had no score in the first half at all, which really looks bad.
But the big thing with Paul's is Brownstown are going well. They're going quite well, and they might throw their lot in there, and they're working out with 2 different pitches. It's not quite the same as a dual club. You're looking at 2 different areas, so I would say that they're probably at this stage going to throw their lot in with the hurling and things. But listen, who knows, we could be wrong.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know what's going on. Could have lads back the next day, I don't know. The other group then is all the second string teams, St. Lomas versus Curson, Kinnegad, the Downs versus Killucan, and Athlone versus Moat. Again, we may get out, lads, and try and see some of them games, because it's very, very hard to see what the second string.
It's hard to predict in them games who's going to be playing, who's not. Lots of teams around the county have loads of injuries, and you could start a game with I think, say Clonkill a couple of weeks ago played against Castown, and I think they've lost 7 or 8, no more than ourselves, off their teams, off their second string teams. So I'm sure it's going to be the same for these teams, the likes of Mullingar, Shamrocks and Lomans and the Downs. Like, you can see them, like the Downs are probably after losing a few after with the amount of injuries that they had the first day, so they're going to be down numbers. And I think the only team that's probably going to be similar this weekend as were the first weekend is Mullingar Shamrocks, because they didn't play anyone, as far as I know, in the junior that was going to be playing senior on the Sunday.
Those 3 clubs you mentioned, Alan, Mullingar, Shamrocks, the Downs and St. Lomans, like, they have huge numbers. There's no, they're well able to feel that with these, and I think Mullingar could have 3 championship teams.
They have a bye this week.
That's remarkable numbers. Like, in my mind, you need about 70 players to be playing three championships.
And it's credit to them clubs to be able to field these teams, especially Shamrocks fielding 3 teams in championship. But like, we'd have very small numbers around in these lower tier competitions if we didn't have the second teams thrown their lot in with them, and third teams for that.
I'd expect St. Lomans will be, they were thereabouts in the last couple of years of that junior one, and they always seem to produce a quality player. These lads are probably, some of them are training with the seniors, and they are going to produce that type of a player. So I'd expect St. Lomans to be up at the top of that group by the end of in that group.
Those second string teams, like, they're hoping to get those lads playing at the highest level possible. Like you mentioned the Kilbeggan game against in that county final last time, it was Lomans that they pipped at the very end, and Lomans were so disappointed because they wanted their fringe players playing intermediate football, that the gap wouldn't be as
but the longer that the single teams, like say the team that say Kilbeggan for instance, the longer they can stay in a championship in the St. Joseph's, the better they'll get, the weaker the senior teams will probably get, but they'll also be going into worse weather. The game will be slowing down, and it will suit the team.
Suit the bums of this world.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's 2012 or 2013 since the last time. One of those years was the last time I think that a senior team won the junior.
Was it Gary Castle? Was it?
No, I think it was Mullingar Shamrocks in 2012 or 13. I think. So it just goes to show you, what reinforces what Pat and Alan was saying. The longer that the championship goes on, those the Kilbeggans and Buns of this world will, get better and better.
But whether we like it or not, the urban versus the rural is really going to come ahead going forward, because you just see the amount of development that's going on in the likes of Mullingar, Athlone, the big towns, know, and you have an influx of people going to the Downs or Shandon, because the likes of Mullingar and the Lomas won't be able to cope for all the kids that's been playing football and that, And I'm sure Gary Castle, that loan, they're going to get bigger and stronger also, because there's places out the country and there's nothing happening like as such.
Well, the demographics is at play, isn't it?
Big time.
Very much.
Big time.
Very much so. And look, Mullingar Shamrocks then are developing, and they're doing absolutely marvellous to be able to cope with whatever the 2 pitches at the minute.
They even have 2 pitches. They've two and a bit pitches. It's a credit to them. And they're a dual club. Their ladies are there as well, and they've huge numbers as well. So
underage ladies, everything.
It's all happening there.
Yeah, certainly. But the best of luck to them with their draw and their development end of it as well. We'll leave the junior lads and we'll move on to the intermediate, our favourite competition, because we never can predict it, even though. Games this weekend, the 8th of August, Castledaly versus Shandona. That's on the Saturday. That's live on Iarmhi TV. Now it's time for 5:30. As I said, check with the Westmeath GA website later on the week, because that could come back a little bit earlier. In the other game, St. Malachy's versus Milltown Pass. That's on a moat at 5:30 on Saturday. And then on Sunday, Milltown versus Multifarnham. That's live on Iarmhi TV as well. 5:30 again is the scheduled time at the minute on Sunday. And then in section B, Ballymore versus Ballinagore. That's in Ballycarrigy, 7:15 on Saturday. Rosemount versus Maryland is in Colliery on Sunday, 2:15, and Castlefine, Cool Whitehall, and St Mary's Rocher Bridge is in Shandon at 4:00. Looking at section B, Ballymore impressive in the opening game against local neighbours Maryland. Ballinagore then with a fabulous start, Michael Ennis. I think I'm right in saying he's into his third year that he hasn't been beaten in the championship. A win here in this one will certainly set up one of these teams. I think we'll be looking at third place.
Oh, absolutely, and it's going to be sort of like a winner take all already, and it's only the second weekend in the championship because it's tight now. 3 teams getting out of a group is extremely tight, and if you can start with 2 wins from 2, you're on the front foot, and I'd say this is going to be a great game. Like I think Ballymore were they were definitely well worth their victory the last day against Maryland. They're a solid outfit. Most of their players are playing senior hurling with Father Dalton, so they're going to be playing that higher level and stuff. And no matter what you say, a winning habit is a great thing to get into, and Ballinagore are in that winning habit at the minute. So it'll be a tight game. There'll be very little in it, and it just might come down to a 2-pointed free or a 2-pointer.
I think we mentioned them the last round as well, Thomas McDaniels, and he showed his quality in that last game.
Well, there isn't a club team in the county that he wouldn't be on.
No,
and that's
well. I mean, he has the ability to kick the 2-pointers. He's going to be. You would imagine Ballymore will say, well, if we can control Thomas and keep him from getting these 2-point opportunities, force him and see. Ballymore are seasoned, they're hard, they're tough, they're dogged, they're the team that you don't want to play.
Pat,
and I
still shudder every time I think of playing them back. Even before your time, back in our time, Pat, and you'd be coming up against Jerry Summers.
Yeah, but they have that old hardness about them,
tough men, yeah, they are.
Their attitude is correct all the time.
Yeah.
They never leave it until the whistle is gone, and then they'll say, well, are we in front or behind? But they'll have given it. Ballinagore are a nice outfit. They'll find it tough this time. This will be very tough. This will be the toughest nut to have the crack in the last 2 years.
In the run, yeah.
Because they're moved out junior. Ballymore have been up here for a long time.
Yeah.
They know what is how to win games, and they know what it's like to be, knocking on the door now for a semi-final or that, So below and Ball in, it'll be a big open pitch. So Ballinagore need everything going right for them, and Thomas needs to be able to be on top song because an awful lot rides on his shoulders.
Yeah. But like we looked at Ballymore before the first game, we were kind of saying, well, if Maryland beat them, Ballymore are looking at relegation possibly, and yet they had a convincing win over them, and here they are now. Like, and if they pick up 2 more points on it again, you say, you're looking. Third place is there for granted.
Yeah, and you've only 3 more games. You've only 3 games left, and try and get one more win, and you're definitely through. Like it's
one significant thing, and this is across all these groups with the 3 teams qualifying. Is I believe you're going to have a situation where you're going to have teams tied on points. There's going to be, and then you're going to have the rules come in to decide who was finishing second and third, and possibly fourth on the same points. So. It's going to be tricky now that, and where you have 2 teams tied, it's on the head-to-head. But where you have 3 teams, then you have this little mini league between the 3 teams. But you could have 4 teams So
that's going to happen in every championship in this county. It'll happen in hurling. It'll happen in football. It'll happen in every division. I'd say that you're going to go into the mini leagues 3 and 3 because teams are beating each other, and you're coming into a situation where, and it's very hard this is where it's a little unfair, but we all know, so we have to get on with it, that you can't give, you're winning a game that well, right, these are one of our opposition, but if you're winning by 5 or 6 points with 3 or 4 minutes to go, you can't take the chance of giving a young lad a goal because you need to keep that scoring difference at a level.
Absolutely, and a point or 2 could be the difference between qualifying and not qualifying.
Yeah.
And if you're correct, you're right, Alan. If you're beaten by 5 and you could have kept it 3, could be the difference between qualifying and not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's the jeopardy that they brought into it now, and you just wonder what what are the rules, Brendan? Can you go out of the championship on scoring difference?
You
can't be relegated.
Relegation is the only thing you can't be.
You can't be relegated on a head-to-head, but you can be, your position in the table can certainly be determined from that particular rule.
Yeah, it just say it's the 3 ye. So if you beat Pat by 5 and you lose to you lose to Brendan by 3, that means you're +2.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't do anything else about that. So then Pat then has to make sure that he beats Brendan by 3 to go ahead of him. It's
For a team management then, like, you have to be very aware, like, you know,
absolutely.
that you know, if you're 2 points down, you know, and you get a chance of a goal, you know, or you get maybe a free, and you're saying, well, we need a goal to win the game, it's better just to take the point to keep that margin.
absolutely. That could be to get you through to a semi-final or quarter-final or knocking you out. So the management will have a lot of thinking to do throughout the championship, that they know we can't afford to lose this game by 4 points. So if they're 2 points down with a minute to go, they know that, right, if we take the point here now, even if they get a 2-pointer, we're still okay.
Yeah.
And normally in these championships, the last round is always played at the same time, so no team has an advantage and know what they have to do in advance. Now, you could be making an argument that at round 4 in this particular format, you might have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, this is going to come down to this sort of stuff this year with 3 teams coming out.
Just on the Banlagore there, they were missing Luke Seary the last, but I think they were missing Niall or Enda Claffey, their full back this time. He's away at a wedding or somewhere out of the country, and he's a steady Eddie all the time. Enda, you know, he makes life difficult for the best of full forwards. He mightn't be, as I said last year in the junior football final, he was one of the best players they had, and he never kicked the ball. But he always gets it, and he hand passes it off to someone in a better position. He's clever, he knows where he's at. But he'll be a big loss now, because that area in there, if they put in the likes of Owen McCabe or Finnerty or, you know, John Gilligan or someone like that, a real wise head, you know.
Yeah.
John Kane won an All-Star, never kicked the ball.
True, yeah, that's
I
true.
thought it's called football.
Huh?
Football.
Well, he won an All-Star, and I'd say you could count on one hand the amount of times he kicked the ball that year. So I'd say he's not the only one that won All-Stars playing cornerback or fullback that didn't kick very little.
Anyway,
It's getting out of trouble.
Yeah, well, that's it. Moving on as quick as you can. Speaking of John Kane, Rosemount and Maryland. Now, Rosemount would have been very, very happy with that win they got against, you know, probably would have been seen as the 2 favourites, because they were the 2 teams that came out of Section A last year. Big win over St Mary's Rochester Bridge. Maryland. Now, if they're down 2 played, 2 lost, it becomes then a very, very difficult hill to climb to get back out of it. And like, you have to say, in the current form, Rosemount would have to be favourites going into this game. Plunket Maxwell probably will be back to add a little bit to them as well. So they'll be confident they get another win out of this one. And, you know, with a head-to-head win over St Mary's Rochester Bridge, and Rosemount will certainly be on the gallop upwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you can see the stamp that Carl Dermody and bringing in John Kane with him this year has made on them. They were very, very solid at the back the last day. They didn't let too much in by them. I thought that they were really, really good in transitioning the ball from back up, from the defence up into the forwards, and that's what you need to do. You need to move that ball at pace. If you give a team time to settle down, a well-drilled team will get back and they'll get themselves in order, and they'll make it very, very difficult. But you'd have to say that in the first round in that Division 2, that Rosemount were probably the ones that impressed the most.
Yeah, I think, you know, St Mary's Rochester Ridge had won the league. Damien would have, I'm sure he would have been happy with how they were preparing for that championship, and you know, took a good hiding. I mean, I think conceded 4 goals.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll bounce back as well this weekend. But I'd be very surprised if you didn't see a Rosemount victory in this one.
Yeah. But Maryland is behind the 8 ball then, if they with a defeat in this one. Even, you know, with Kieran Martin and Colin McCormack, the old heads are there. But they have a couple of young lads coming through. But, you know, the last place they need to be now learning their trade next year is in playing junior football.
Oh, yeah. It'd be a big letdown to the diehards in Maryland, because they were always there, you know, in that middle tier, not peeping up and down, looking for senior status. But the likes of Kieran Martin has been a phenomenal player for them. Like, you know, it'd be a pity to see him. I would imagine he'd call a halt to it if that was the case, but however, we're not ruling them out yet.
No, you can't, I know.
There's pride in every lad's jersey, so I'm sure it'll be a tough game.
Absolutely, and someone like him, he could pop up and score 2-3 in the space of 5 or 6 minutes. Like, he's still like he's only a year gone out of county football, like, and he's still a unit of a man that's well able to travel with it, and he's able to score, and given half a chance, he will come in with 2-pointers. Like, if there's a fella in the county that has a boot in him, let it be against the wind or with it, that's able to hit them. Kieran Martin is definitely one of them.
Would battle himself and Boydu, two big strong men.
Yeah, to be no holding back there anyway.
Yeah, they certainly wouldn't. The other game in that group, Castlefine, Cool Whitehall and St Mary's Rochester Bridge. Now both of these coming off defeats. Fine beaten by Ballynagore by a point. Would have lost Darragh McCormack as well. I think it seems to be the case.
Gone for a little while now.
Yeah.
Bad knee injury.
Knee.
Yeah, I know Alfie said it here last week as well, but didn't feature for Castlepollard yet, so he can't imagine he's going to play football next week either. So Mary's Rochridge, Damien would have been disappointed, I think, with lads. There's a lot of young lads there, and some of them, you know, a little bit headstrong maybe at times as well, and you know, Damien had a lot of work now to get them back under his control. Castlefine Cool Whitehall will be dogged. You have Darren Kilcoyne now coming up against his former team as well, and that one, so that'll add a little bit to it. Fancy Rochester Bridge to get back on the wagon again?
I think so, but I did highlight last day that the Bridge, you know, they done well in the league, which was a big upturn from last year. They had a terrible season last year.
They won no game.
None at all.
Yeah,
they won nothing. And then they came along and they won the league, but they played a challenging in Malachy's and they got a terrible trimming, and they conceded 5 goals that evening. And now they came along and they conceded, was it 4 against Rosemont? So that's somewhere he needs to adjust. But I don't think Castletown Fine would have enough firepower to do that kind of damage. Like, Castletown Fine were poor now against Ballynagore. Ballynagore were better on the night, just didn't pull away when it should have been. But like you said, they're dogged enough, and I suppose that when you come to the second round and you're on a defeat on your first round, the last thing you want to end up at the game is no points after 2 games. So your attitude has to be absolutely spot on. You have to be really determined to get over and get something out of this game.
The other thing with Fine is, like, you have a few lads from Ringtown, you have a few lads from Castlepollard, like, so they mightn't be fully focused on if they're, you know, they're going well in the hurling, they might be fully focused on the football, but you know, it's a big game for both clubs now. You know, and a second defeat, like, and you're looking at the trap door, like, it's that kind of a game.
I wouldn't think that Damien Gavin is that awfully worried about losing against Rosemount in the first game. Like, because I'd say if you were looking on paper, Rosemount will come out with that group. You'd be expecting that they'll come out with that group. So he's looking at trying to get two wins and a draw out of the other 4 matches. That's what he's going to be looking at. And I'd say that's what he was aiming at the start of this. Now, this weekend, like Fine, as we know, we won the championship in 2023. We played Fine in the first round out in Rochester Bridge, and we were blessed to get over them. That they're dogged, and if they get themselves into a game, it's hard to, no more than Pat was saying about Ballynagore. Ballynagore are probably the better side throughout, but still struggle to put them away. Now, Darragh McCormack is a massive loss, because he is well able to play football as well. And unfortunately for them, he's going to be missing this weekend. So that's going to be it'll be a boost for Rochester Bridge, but it'll be a big loss for Fine.
Yeah, it will be, surely. I don't know, will we make a prediction of the 3 of them lads? Ballymore, Ballynagore? Pat, I won't ask you because you're living in the middle of the mud. You can't rule against them, or you can give them the nod, whatever you like.
I would fear for them.
You would fear for them.
I think Ballymore are hard outfit. I would go with Ballymore.
I would agree with Pat. Ballymore just seem to be the more seasoned, experienced team, and I just think they'll have a bit too much for Ballynagore.
Yeah, I'd say there won't be a lot in it now. You couldn't rule out a draw now either, but I would be slightly sliding with Ballymore.
Rosemount, Maryland.
Rosemount.
I'd go with Rosemount.
Yeah, Rosemount as well.
And Castlefine, Cool Whitehall and St Mary's Rochester Bridge.
I would say the Bridge will bounce back from their defeat the first day out. And if Darragh McCormack was there, it might be a different story. But missing someone like that, I would think the Bridge will have too much for them.
Advantage of the Bridge, yeah, it probably is. Top group, lads. Again, some cracking matches in this. Castle Daly versus Shandona. So Malachy's versus Milltown Pass, and Milltown versus Multifarnham. Couple of nice tasty fixtures there. Shandona and Milltown was really the tie. I think it was probably the tie of the Westmeath football weekend the last time. It was probably a cracking match that, you know, ended in a draw. No harm done to either teams probably. But Castle Daly, took a bit of a hammering from Milltown Pass in that opening. It was on the Monday night, that game as well. I think Brandon Kelly continues to wear the scoring boots anyway. But Shandon over Castledaly, would you fear for Castledaly in this? They did well to get out of that second group last year.
I would fear for them here now.
Yeah.
I think that Shandona, or maybe Shandona and Milltown, are a little bit ahead of other teams at the intermediate grade at the moment. That's not to say that other teams won't catch up on them, but I just think after the last day they're going to be a little bit brittle after what they conceded against. It was a 5-14 they conceded the last day, and if you let Shandona get a little bit a bit of steam up, they could bury you very, very quickly. And
they had no Tom Lloyd last day, and so
right.
you know, or
Danny Scahill either. So like you're missing your 2 out of your 3 county players were missing, and they still got something out of the game. And I just think that Ray Sheridan will have these boys really, really tuned in for this weekend, because if they were to lose this game, if 1 point from 2 matches is not going to be a good position for them, so I'd say he'll have them well riled up, and I would presume that they'll get across this one.
Brian Kavanagh was outstanding, I think, in that last game when he kicked, was it 111 or something like that? He scored
he scored 5 2-pointers, I think, or 4 or 5 2-pointers.
We've seen at the inter-county stuff like how crucial a team that can kick the 2-pointer. I know the weather has changed a little bit tonight. I don't know what it's going to be like for the weekend, but you know, as the wind gets up and you're into it, you're against it, you know, the 2-pointers with the wind, you know, you can open up a big lead very, very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah. But look, at Shandona will be eager to get a win now. You know, they probably felt the kind of the draw the last day. They were winning that game all the way through, I think, where they.
I think they were down.
They were down 14.
They were down a man.
Yeah,
for a lot.
Yeah, I think it was only after 11 or 12 minutes he got sent off.
Yeah.
So
they'll be anxious to get a win, and I think they will. I think they will get the win.
That's on in TG on Saturday evening. That's part of the double header in there. I think it's live on Iarmhi TV as well. It's timed at the minute for 5:30, but as I said, there's a doubt that they could come back a little bit earlier. St Malachy's and Milltown Pass and Moat again on Saturday evening. Again, time for 5:30 at the minute. I was talking to a man yesterday, and he reckons that St Malachy's will qualify out of this group because they're always better than the credit they give themselves. Now, I'm not going to ask you on this one, Alan, but like probably feared from going into the first game. They ended up with a good win. They've come down out of the senior. They have Shane Corcoran there. He's always going to be a huge, plus at this level. This will be a big game though. Milltown has our 2 corner forwards on either end of the field for the county, Brandon and Shane. They can be a shootout here. Who gets the most?
Yeah, well, it's the other end. I'd be more fearful for both of them. You know, Milltown Pass. I suppose at the start of it, you would look at say Milltown Pass would be somewhere close to Shandona and Milltown, but Malachy's have this habit of just upsetting the apple cart all down through the years. You know, they'll give their best. The injuries is a crisis. You know, and it is a problem. And I'd say Aaron Glennon got picked up. He's another injury there yesterday, and he would be a solid footballer with them. And I would be very surprised if he's able to play. You know, every time you hurl the Sunday before it, you know, you pick up a lot of niggly injuries and that because they're playing at a higher grade and tougher games. Malachy's will find it tough enough. Milltown Pass will be on the crest of a wave now after winning. And Milltown Pass, I know whoever can win this game, I would think is going to shoot in third place. You know, it's a shootout for a third, I would say, irrespective of the other two. Now, anyone can be beaten on any day, so I'm not ruling it out when they play Shandona and Milltown. But I would be, if I was both sets of camps, I would be looking at this is a game. If we can win this, we can target third spot and see what we can improve on after that.
Yeah, Milltown Pass.
Yeah, the form that Brandon is in now, like he's taken his county form, he's brought that into the club championship. And at this level, he's a handful for any defender. And you know, I think David Maloney, I'm not sure whether he didn't play yesterday for Castletown, like, and he'd be a tigerish kind of a cornerback. He'd be looking to mark someone like Brandon. And you know, it'll just be. I think Brandon he'll probably just have enough there to get them over the line there. I think the Milltown Pass with Finn Barcoyne. But saying that again, like there's quality in the Malachy's team too. We have Peter Murphy and Morgan Gavigan there, two fine players.
But David Lynch is a huge asset.
Massive.
I mean, David Lynch was the total difference
Yeah.
in the Malachy's match as regards ability to win the ball, ability to know what to do with the ball, how to distribute it, and his fitness level. His fitness level is unreal. Like some of the stats he has coming from the GPSs are off the charts.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the type of chap he is. He's, you know, he looks after himself. He's just fit. He's eager. He's intelligent. You know, and I'm saying Mark McHugh is delighted to see this fella back around the corner. Says, well, this is another hand I can use, you know, going forward. And he still has time on his side, like, you know.
Yeah, like Alan, you know him better than anyone, but he you know, some players go away for a year or two to Australia, and it takes them, you know, months to get back up to pace. But like David Lynch looks like he's never been away.
Yeah, but some fellas go to Australia and do the dog in it for a year or two. This lad doesn't do that. He's your perfect professional.
Yeah.
That's there's no other word for him. He's a serious footballer. Like he's an awful lot better. Like I remember him coming on to the Westmeath team first, and there'd be a lot of real critics out there saying, "Oh, he shouldn't be there and he shouldn't be there." He's as good a kick passer of a ball in Leinster, never mind in Westmeath. He'll bow it on a plate for you. I used to love playing inside when he got the ball in his hand. You knew you didn't. By the time he came along, I was towards the end of my career, so I wasn't able to.
You had that quick move, like.
But I wasn't able to get there. But I knew that if he was kicking it, if I got a yard or two at all, it was coming into me. So he is. Like as Pat said, I'd say Mark McHugh is absolutely delighted that he's back, because he ran the show against Multi.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of between seniors. There was a couple of senior lads, county lads playing, and there was a couple of under-20s playing, and there's no doubt that David Lynch stood out above, head and shoulders above the whole lot of them. And it's his organisational skills as well. He's able to tell lads, go here, go there, I've him, you cover the middle. That's worth his weight in gold in football, and he has it in abundance.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great role model as well, then, the whole thing. That'll be a tight one, though, I think, that Malachy's Milltown Pass game, because Milltown Pass, you know, they're thereabouts under new management this year.
And very good, and it's Mike Tumulty and James Galvin, and excellent, I have to say, really top drawer.
Actually, both of them under new management. Milltown Pass, because
Milltown Pass have Graham Corcoran and Darren Rigney are in there as well. So they're obviously, like, Malachy's were very good the last day, really, really good. Like, they scored 217. It's a while ago since we scored 217. So we scored 217 the other day, and we were very, very solid. But Milltown Pass scored 5-14. So
at half time, Milltown Pass had some ferocious score.
Yeah, it was 4-10
or 4-12.
Yeah. I don't know whether it was a win or what the story was, but it is very hard to keep.
We were in here when it was going on, but it was a strong win. But they made the most of the strong win. To be fair, so
I think Milltown Pass, like you say, Pat, I think the winner of this game is going to be a long way down the road to finishing in third place.
Yeah, well, there's goals in this game because you have both of these.
Let's just say these draw on Saturday evening, Brendan, and they beat Castledaly. They both beat Castledaly, and they both beat Multi, and they lose the other two games. What happens then?
It'll come down to the score difference in the game.
No, sure, if they draw, there's no score difference.
You're going down so they go the head-to-head first, then scoring difference, and then it's goals, it's points for
and against,
and points against
all teams.
No, against themselves. But then if you can't rank them in that regard, you have to bring in the other teams. Then there's a whole list of So I mean, I'll study that.
Wait till it's a draw first, Brendan. We'll see.
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll wait
but Buddy, you're right.
It's going to rule out a draw here.
Oh yeah, well,
this scenario is very likely.
Yeah,
very likely.
In between the four groups.
Yes.
Yeah.
Between the 5 groups between the 6 groups, junior, the A and B section, and then the same with the intermediate and senior.
Yeah.
There's a draw already.
Yeah, someone's going to go
Yeah,
out
yeah.
on the
Yeah,
path.
there's 2 draws.
Yeah.
Killucan and Turris pass through.
Yeah.
So it'll come down to something like that. Wait till you see.
The Downs and
Just I don't know what
the
the.
first round, the first
Yeah.
day out.
I thought with your expertise in the county board over the last 10 years, you
I never
might-
had to deal with that
No.
situation.
Never had 3 coming out.
No.
That's probably a little side effect to that one that
Yeah.
maybe wasn't thought of that much. I would say that.
Peter Collins on the CCC about to start studying,
Watch
making
this
sure,
space.
make sure they know them rules, because I think they will come into play this year.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the more we talk about it, last game in that group, the Sunday evening in TG Cusick Park, Milltown and Multifarnham. Now Milltown, one of the 2 favourites, I suppose, themselves in Shandona, and didn't really do anything to rule themselves out of that position in that game against Shandona. Multi would have been disappointed, I would imagine. I know they said Ronan Wallace was carrying injury and he's so crucial to them, and you know, Malachi's got one up on them, which again with the head-to-head, and that gives Malachi's a kind of a step up on them. Can you see them getting a bounce back here against Milltown?
I can't see it happening. Multi were very disappointing that night. Wally, in fairness, if he had an injury, he wasn't the same Wally they had the whole summer. He was just wasn't in it.
You knew
he
there
knew he
something
was
wrong.
struggling. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he had a rib injury coming from the last game, first of all, and whatever. So he just didn't. It didn't click, and when he doesn't click, Multi don't click.
Yeah, that's
Milltown would be disappointed that they didn't get over the line. It was a great opportunity for them. They were in control of the game. They had a man extra.
14 men, yeah.
And they looked like they were going to get there, and they got caught. They will be gunning to get 2 points, because they would look at that as a point dropped. As the game progressed, they might have been happy beforehand to take a point, but not as the way things were developing.
Yeah.
So I think Multi will struggle here big time. Milltown are a serious outfit, like they have very good players.
Yeah, I think it was Conor Dillon. I think was picking up Brian Kavanagh in that game as well, and which was a surprise.
It's a strange thing about Conor Dillon. Conor Dillon performs extremely well for Westmeath, but he hasn't ever stood out for Milltown. He's not there. He's not a player that you say, oh, he's 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 every night. And Milltown will tell you that. But he seems to be able to perform at the next level, way above. But he's still a serious outfit.
Yeah.
If you get him to do a job, he knows what to do. So
Jack Duncan then as well didn't play hurling at the weekend, so I don't know, is he carrying injury?
He must be carrying. He was there, all right. I saw him there, but he didn't tug out. So I presume he's carrying some sort of a knock. But I would think there's going to be a kick in Multi, but I'm not sure it's going to be a big enough kick to get across this.
Right, lads. Castledaly, Shandona.
Shandona.
Malachy's Milltown Pass.
That's yours, Brendan.
Milltown Pass, I think, just about.
Okay. And Milltown Multifarnham.
I go with Milltown.
Milltown, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah.
But if Ronan Wallace is a little bit
Fortnight down
a fortnight down the line and gets that injury right, if Milltown go in half expecting to win this match anyway, he could upset the apple tart bear big time, because he has the ability to. He has the ability to score in 5 2-pointers in one match. That's the type he is, and I think he put in a massive performance against these last year. So there's nothing to rule it out that he wouldn't do the same again.
Yeah. Moving on to the senior, Section B, Thurles Pass versus Tubberclare. That's on the Saturday. Athlone versus Moat on the Sunday, and Killucan versus Tang on the Sunday. Thurles Pass Tubberclare is in Moat 7:15. Athlone versus Moat is in Colliery at 4 o'clock on the Sunday, and Killucan and Tang in Shandon at 6 o'clock. Again, I'd say for anyone thinking of going to games, check the Westmeath website closer to the date, because as I said, the evens are getting shorter. Tubberclare would have been delighted to get a win in a local derby against Moat the last day out. Thurles Pass now will be a different test for them, because Thurles Pass are a seasoned senior football team. You think you have them bet, and that's the rock you'll perish on. This will be, I think this will be a step up now for Tubberclare. Have the ability to get over Thurles Pass.
Yeah, well, I said the last day I fancied Tubber Clare to beat Moat because based on what I've seen last year, like with the under 20s and their intermediates, I know Matty is a huge loss, but I was also said that he done so much for them that maybe they'll row in and get them to a position that he can come back at the end of the year. They're lovely talented footballers. They're a lovely football team. You know, they play a lot of ball around. You're dead right when you say Terrell's Pass. Terrell's Pass are the old chestnut. They're hard to fucking crack. You know, when you think you have them, that's when they come back to bite you.
Yeah.
Now Peter Clark is a big loss to them, as his energy and
sure.
ability to run with the ball and whatever. But it'll be a big test for Tubber Clare. They're a young team.
Yeah.
It'll see where they are, but they fought hard to win that match against Moat. They were down for a lot of it. You know, they didn't panic and they kept at it and they overturned it and won, pulling away at the finish.
Yeah. Terrace Pass, Brendan, you've seen them against Killuke and, you know, David Lennon, like at whatever age he is, but kicks, you know, two pointers, the last one just before half time, and at the time the Killuke looked like they were going to pull away and win that game.
Yeah, Terrace Pass are like they're the old dog for the long road, and you couldn't never write them off. They're just a team that'll stick, and they'll persevere and stay in games, and like they would maybe feel they should have got over the line against Killuke, but look, at Tubber Clare are a young team. They're like a lot of them in their early 20s, like, and I think their energy might be, you know, the thing that'll get them over the line next Sunday. They'll want to build on the first day, but I wouldn't rule out Terrace Pass either. That's where is the game, by the way?
That's in Moat.
It
might suit down there. It might suit Tubber Clare, but you know, the Tubber Clare certainly take a lot from that first win in 50. I think it's 15 years or whatever since we're in senior.
Football, right,
you know,
right.
so you know, they have no hurling down there. There's no distractions. You know, they're fully focused on football, and they're going to be an up and coming team in my mind.
Yeah, they're under management with Keith Higgins and the brother Sham. I know Sham listens to us on this podcast as well, but like it was the perfect start again in a local derby, and I think there's 3 local derbies in this group for them, like Tubber Clare, Athlone, Moat and Tang, all down there. You could, you know, split from one to the other nearly with Killuke and Terrace Pass, the 2 outsiders in the group, but like they have so much talent down there. But Terrace Pass have talent. Like Joe Hyland was probably man of the match, goalkeeper in the game against Killuke, and kicked a couple of 45s, kicked a 2 pointers. You know, David Glenn is there. David Hanlon playing centre back. David Hanlon's former Offaly senior footballer. Like they have, you know, down the
Tubber Clare are going to come up against a different animal now than they came up against the last day, because Moat have a lot of young players that are only coming up through the ranks themselves. Like I think a couple of under 20s or maybe even under 21s. The last time was under 21, but like David Glennon, for instance, the rock he'll perish on is if you leave him on his own. Like he kicked 2 outrageous 2-pointers the last day. If you don't tighten up on him, he could cause you untold damage. Because I know he's coming to the latter end of his career, but he's still well able to kick ball, and he's as cute as a button. He's there's no doubt he'll cause you damage, and I think Killuke didn't get quite tight enough on him the last day, and that's the reason Killuke didn't get over the line. But at the same time, Tubber Clare are going to rely on their youth and running and trying to get there, but like the Terrace Pass have a lot of experience in that team, and lads that'll get them across the line, so it won't be quite as easy as Tubber Clare. I think it's going to be a tough nut to crack, but in fairness, both teams are in a decent enough position after the first day. I think if you asked Terrace Pass and Killuke, would you take a draw here before the game, they probably both would have took a draw and walk on. So, but this will be a cracking game now.
Yeah, a word on Jamie Ganood, Brendan. You were at that game, but he started off at centre forward, but he just dictated a bit like David Lynch. He was calling the shots for lads.
He was the maestro on the night.
Yeah,
he controlled everything, and a player of his quality and experience, like Terrace Pass, with respect, don't have that player with that level of experience anyway, and I think Terrell's Pass will probably try and slow the game down and wind it back a bit. Like Tuberclare like to play that game at a high press, high pace game. So I think Tuberclare or Terrell's Pass will try and play it a bit more tactical and that kind of a game. And David Lennon and Jamie Ganood, like they'll be their main men there for that.
Yeah. It's a game I'd like to see that one myself. Probably won't get to it, but it's an intriguing one. Another local derby in that section, Athlone against Moore. Now Athlone, would have had their mettle tested against Tang in the open game, and they came out with a good victory for them and kind of sets them up nicely. Moore, as we've already discussed, losing to Tuberclare, but in that game I think Harry Niall got man of the match as well. So two midfielders battling it out here, Harry Niall and Ray Cannell, and Ray Seaman was very, very good for Athlone in that win over Tang as well. Moore, you're down after, no point after one game, no point after two games, and it's starting to get squeaky bum time then at that stage.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is the good thing about week 2 here now. The teams don't want to go into week 3 with no points.
Yeah.
But even if you got 1 point out of it, you have something on the board going forward. But and if you lose 2 games in a row straight away in the B part of these sections, you're looking over your shoulder then thinking, am I going to go down here now?
Yeah.
And I think Athlone, they're moving well. They have a few right good footballers. They have Keane Mitchell there. It'll be a son of Shamie Mitchell's who's going really, really well. They have Eamon Martin playing at centre forward, another big unit of a big man, well able to play football. And you obviously have Ray chipping in there and keeping them all going forward. It's going to be that's going to be a good game. But it's Athlone probably are going better than most in this group, I'd say.
Game in Colliery's, and probably I know it's a strange venue, but it obviously would be the most
usual
one.
The county, like
it's right there between
suitable.
the two.
It's a good venue now.
The
fine facilities there.
Yeah, new pitch is lovely.
New pitch is
really
good.
good.
So,
and they do. I've been at games there in the past, and the Colliery Club do a great job hosting games there, so I think there'll be no issue with that game.
Double header, nice one there, Roseman and Maryland as well as Athlone and Moore, so it'll be a big crowd there.
Look, all the South, supporters and that, and it's ideal, a good decision to have to keep it down the end.
Yeah. The other game in that group, Killucan versus Tang, that's in Shandona on Sunday evening, 6 o'clock. Again, that's part of a double header with Castlefania, Cool Whitehall and St Mary's Rocher Bridge. Tang with a win, Killucan with a draw.
Tang were beaten.
Tang were beaten. Yeah, beaten by Athlone. Sorry. I don't. Do we make them favourites for the drop in the opening game? But I think they gave Athlone all their all to beat them. So Killucan, if they're going to go down to this one, Brendan, they'll want to be on, a game and have to be in place.
Tang are one of those teams that, you write them off at your peril. They're a tough team, and they're great pride in their club, and like Paul Conley's over them this year, and that means a lot. Killucan struggled the last day with their free taking, and I think that's something they'll need to correct if they have ambitions of progressing. So it's hard to call that game now. That Killucan will be probably disappointed that they didn't get over the line against Terrell's Pass in one way, but then again they could have lost it. But I think that'll be a very, very tight game on Sunday evening out in Shandona.
Yeah, that's a very valid point, Brendan. Like Sammy Clark, he had a 2-point effort.
Yeah,
in injury time that you'd almost be writing it down if you were.
Well, he has been a reliable free taker over the past while, but his form is just on the freeze has deserted him, and at this level you need a reliable free taker. It's vital to.
But the thing about that evening, it was after getting slippy. It was after raining for the first time in I don't know how long. Pat, you'll know more than most of us.
But you wouldn't call that rain.
But it's a slippy ball. You're used to putting the ball down. It's a greasy ball, and he kicks them off the ground. If
he does, yeah.
And it's one of those. If you don't meet the ball on the money on the ground, it could skid away to the left, or you could push it out to the right. Yeah, I always thought that in wet weather you're way better off taking the frees out of your hand.
Yeah, he kicked one out of his hand in the first half.
Yeah,
it didn't work out for him.
It's just difficult when you're underfoot as well.
With free takers in either code, it's all about confidence.
Yeah.
And, if you're doubting yourself coming up to that ball, and you can think your way out of it too.
Kicking the ball off the ground when it's raining, your standing foot is the big thing.
Yeah.
And you're putting way more pressure on your standing foot when you're kicking off the ground than you are kicking out of your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good free taker though.
He is a good free taker.
Solid, good player.
Brendan, that game, a quick word about Sean Leach. Again, a young man that has loads and loads of abilities. Well, I think got in for the 2 goals, I think, that day against
and look at only for the heroics of Joe Hyland and the goals, he might have scored a couple of more.
Yeah.
But look at Sean as a quality player. He had riddled with injuries there over the last few years, but he seems to be injury free this year. And on his day, he's a handful for anyone. Devon Hill was a bit out of the game the last day. Didn't really get into the game, so I think Killucan will be hoping to get a bit more out of him next Sunday as well.
Yeah, 3 great games in that group, lads. Thirds past Tuberclare. Pat?
Well, I like Tuberclare, and I said it all along I like Tuberclare, so I can have a winning ticket from the last day, so I'll go with them again.
Okay. Brendan?
The same as Pat. I think they're just how their tails are up now, and they're young youth, and I just think they'll if they can get the pace of the game up, they'll come through there.
Alan, I know you're going to make it 2-1 in this one.
Yeah, if it's wet, Thirds Pass will win it.
Okay. Athlone and Moat.
I'll go with Athlone.
Yeah, I'd be Athlone too. I think they're that little bit further down the road than Moat just at the minute.
Yeah, I'd agree with the lads. They're just a bit more.
And for the 2 Castown men here, Killucan and Tang.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last podcast, football, the so-called experienced football pundits were all talking about how good Killucan were, and they were a serious threat going forward. So Tang last year were extremely lucky to actually stay in senior football, because they actually won and stayed up on penalties, I think, at the finish.
Yeah.
So, and it was a game that was gone from them and got back and gone again. So if Killucan, there may be small little dips here and there, but I'd fancy Killucan to get over this one.
Right.
Yeah, me too.
Fair enough, lads. Senior Section A. By just some great games in this. There's actually 3 derbies in this one. On the Friday evening, Colliery versus Garrycastle. Now they meet again the junior later on the weekend as well. That's in Athlone at 7:30. On Saturday, Corzon Kinnegad versus the Downs, 7:15 at the minute. And on Sunday, St. Lomas versus Mullingar Shamrocks. We'll start with the top one, Colliery against Garrycastle. Now the 2 of these coming off defeats. Garrycastle, I'd say, would have been very disappointed in how that opening game went for them. They were absolutely blown out by Corzon Kinnegad in the opening half.
Absolutely. The first half, I said they were bamboozled to know what happened, because, we did state that they were the one team that had everybody at home training the whole spring. There no county involvement whatsoever, and they were in the league final, possibly didn't perform as well as they would have hoped, but they were absolutely not in the park for the first 30 minutes. And it was very hard to overturn the deficit in the second 30 minutes, no matter what the management says at half time. So I'd say there was hard training sessions done in the last 2 weeks since that.
Yeah.
There's 2 things to this, as Pat said. If you don't have a county player, you're working with the same group of players, you have them trained the whole day, but you still don't have that kick of getting 2 or 3 county players back in to get training up to a different level. Like the likes of, say, from a hurling point of view, Castown, the Loughlin Gales, Raharney, Clunkill, just them 4, for instance, they would have an influx of players, and you'd be training all year and you'd be going quite well, but then these lads come back into training and they make it even better. And that's the thing I would say, is that the last day Kinnegad had a couple of players coming back into the fold that were going to improve training. Garrycastle didn't have that, but at the same time they got the game back to 3 points at one stage, and you have to give them major credit for that. It's a big battle to go from what you were losing by at half time to get the game back to 3 points. And you'd have to be impressed with that.
Yeah, and Alex Gardner was excellent. He kicked a couple of 2-pointers. But that game, Brendan, I think you might have been in it. That game turned on a black card that was issued, I think, was it to Carl Mannion?
Yeah.
At a time when I think they were after getting it back to 3 points.
Yeah, the momentum it broke the momentum of Gary Castle, and Kinnegad kicked on. I think they scored 8 points, like bang, 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 and they kind of. Gary Castle didn't have another burst in them, and it was near the end then, and but they'll be hoping to correct that now. I think Gary Castle are, they're, and both of those teams, Colliery, I was impressed with Colliery against Mullingar as well. Like they put up a good score. Like that's going to be a real battle.
Yeah.
And I think the team that loses there, is 2 losses, you're nearly out of the running.
Yeah. Senna Baker's still in Boston. I see a clip of him popping over a nice point. It was almost the same as the one against Dublin, only off his right foot. I think in the Boston semi-final that I see over the weekend.
Did they win?
They
did, yeah.
Well, then he's not going to be home for this weekend anyway. So his 60 days is probably up, but he can still play on for as long as the club are still in the championship over there. So he won't be coming home. The club are not going to bring you out there and get to a final and let you go home.
Yeah, that's fair. But Colliery will be still hoping for they put it up Mullingar Shamrocks. Some people's dark horses to win a championship this year, and Colliery led them for a long time in that match as well. Mullingar Shamrocks put to the pin of their collar to get over it in the end. So Colliery, game in that local derby.
But if you take Mullingar Shamrocks, I think they have 5 or 6 lads that started a senior championship for the first ever time. So it's going to take them a while to get their feet under the table and get themselves up to the pace of senior championship football, and they still got over the line.
Yeah.
I would expect Shamrocks to be better this weekend, but Colliery will be disappointed now with the amount of players that Mullingar had playing the first game, that they didn't get even closer, not even snatch a win there.
Yeah, so look, a big game there. We've 2 crackers in Cusick Park Saturday and another one on Sunday. First one is on Saturday evening, Carson Kinnegad and the Downs. Brendan, Carson Kinnegad looked impressive for probably 3/4 of the game against Gary Castle. The Downs, I'd say everyone of the Downs should have bought a lottery ticket going home on that evening after that long game. Yeah. They got the draw, but fair balls to Trevor Martin with the last kick of the match. He kicked the 2-point free. Both of these would be gunning for a win here, because there's no room for no margin of error in this group at all.
With the Downs drawing that first game, if Kinnegad can get a win, they're 4 points on the board, and that's a significant.
with 1
exactly. So Kinnegad were very impressive. They're playing a bit more adventurous football. We've all been watching them over the last number of years, and they're very much defensive minded in my mind, but they seem to have shaken off that kind of and they're this high press, real attacking football, and it's nice to watch. So I think the Downs will be hoping that there will be another lottery for them on, but it's going to be difficult with the injuries they have. But look at. The Downs are a well-drilled team, and the players they'll have out, they're not going to fall easily either. But I just expect Kinnegad just to have a little bit too much for them on Saturday evening.
I don't know any word on injuries, whether Kevin O'Sullivan is anywhere back.
Didn't hear.
There was talk that maybe Luke might be making an appearance.
If Luke were to play, well then that's a significant. Even if he wasn't fully up to the match fitness, just his presence alone on the field would spook a team.
Yeah.
If you saw him coming, you'd be saying, we better keep an eye on this guy, because he's capable. He's that kind of quality. He's capable of scores, but really it'll depend on. I think they'll probably be keeping that a secret right up until the last minute.
But you look at them injuries that they have. They will be over the moon to get a point against Lomans, missing the 3 players that they're training. They're 3 top
Three
drawer
county players.
county players.
Yeah.
They're not just county players. Like
top,
you can
yeah.
throw in, we'd have loads of lads down through the years that were on county panels that are probably just lucky to hang on to there. But like these are three lads that would, like Kevin O'Sullivan, outstanding for Westmeath all year. Luke is Luke. We all know how important he is to every team that he plays on, and Johnny Lynham has been a revelation. Like I thought he was absolutely outstanding last year in the championship for the Downs and for Westmeath. So it's one of those. It's a game where I don't know if the Downs would be overly worried if they were going to have lads back for the next day if they didn't get something out of this game. But at the same time, if the Downs were to get anything out of it, and if Luke was to make an appearance, rumours are that he might make an appearance this weekend. If he was to make an appearance, that brings this game right back into the melting pot.
Big time.
Yeah, it surely does. That'll be one, I'd say.
But you have to say Kinnegad were unbelievably impressive the last day. In terms of I think that they have 12 or 13 different scores.
I think so, yeah.
Like, that's a different...
Josh Gahan only coming off the bench, you know.
Yeah, no, he has been carrying a few knocks and he has been injured by all accounts. And, like, he will be in their team when he gets back properly. But that's a different Kinnegad. 2-3 years ago, you wouldn't have seen Kinnegad having 14, 15 different scores in a match. But for them to, like, they're obviously just pressing on, and that's what this game is all about. Moving the ball from defence into attack as quick as possible, not giving teams time to set up. And Kinnegad, the one thing they will have on their side is fitness. And if they can transition their game into attacking that little bit more, which they obviously have, they'll be serious contenders here.
Yeah, repeating last year's county final, and there's a couple of little things I'm sure happen in the build up to that county final that'll be remembered again on Saturday evening, I'd say, as well. So,
what's this, Ray?
Well, there was alleged incident with flags being taken, those kind of things off the pitch, So,
but that would have nothing got to do with any management, players, none of that. That'd be just supporters or clowns. So you couldn't say that any player, like obviously people would be annoyed about it, but. It wouldn't be anything got to do with any of the players or management.
Happened out at St. Joseph's and
Ballinagore
in the junior. Some clown went around and started writing on every Tommy Mack's door and then the pub and Michael Ennis's and all these places. And sure, St. Joseph's were disgusted about it. What the hell?
Yeah, like that. You can't condone it.
It'll be going on at the same time. You know that as well.
It'll be interesting to see is any of them going to adopt the Mayo forward style of high press and the work rate from management over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
just something to look out for. See,
yeah, like the 6 teams in that. All teams now this stage are all so highly coached, and these coaches are watching everything as well. It will be interesting. The last game Sunday, the last game of the weekend, really, St. Lomans versus Mullingar Shamrocks. TG Cusie Park again. That's live on Iarmhi TV as well on the Saturday evening with the Carson and Kinnegad one. Now. Lomans, definitely let a point slip. There's no point in saying anything else. There was there was an incident and that was.
They didn't just let it slip. They gave it away.
Well, they kicked it down the tunnel.
Whatever way you want to call it, they threw it away. They should have had the game wrapped up.
Yeah. Mullingar Shamrocks now are going to, they have 5-6 young lads that have played. They're going into their second senior championship game. They should be an awful lot. More settled than this one.
They're going into they're going into a beast. That's what they're going into. They're not. This is going to be a baptism of fire that they've never seen before. Do you know what I mean? They're all coming from minor and under 20. A lot of them actually play with Westmeath under 20s this year. So they're going to. But this is a different animal. You're going to be coming up against Sam McCartan, John Heslin. Do you know what I mean? These types of players that are just going to be a different animal than these boys have ever come up against before.
Ron O'Toole, any the word in the street? I think he's not around this weekend. I'm not too sure. Yeah, he'll be.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know that. I've heard that he's not around for this game anyway. He has to come back to Australia. He started the last game, kicked 2 points. I think he got in. I think maybe a 2-pointer. Lomans back to the drawing board again to fill in, but like they've oodles of talent in there as well. And Paddy Dowd would have been disappointed. I think someone said to me, Paddy Dowd would be more disappointed with the lack of discipline by St. Lomas, which cost them that game, will cost them 1 point in that game. But, you know, David Martin and Kevin Burkin with Mullingar Shamrocks, you know, they're stepping up to go into senior manager. Now, there's a huge amount at stake in this one.
There is, and whoever loses this game are going to be, I wouldn't say looking over their shoulder just yet, but they'll be just having a little glance over their shoulder at the same time of who's coming behind them and what's happening up ahead of them, because any team that can get on to 2 wins from 2 in this group would be in a great
Huge
position.
advantage.
Yeah, massive advantage.
Yeah,
It's going to be a big test for Mullingar Shamrocks this weekend, as Alan said. They haven't played a team like this, you know, a serious, seasoned, experienced team, and you know we'll see how good they are. You know, can these younger guys adapt to this level? To the
there's a lot of hype around them, so
you know you know it'll tell a tale on Sunday evening. You know, and it's one that I'm really looking forward to anyway, because it's just going to, like, Mullingar possibly are the team that's coming, and St. Lomas have been there and done that. They've, you know, incredible players there all for many years, so it's going to be a very, very interesting game.
Yeah, I expect to be a huge crowd in there.
Yeah.
In TGQ's Bradford Down as well. Predictions, lads. Starting off, Colliery, Gary Castle. Alan, I'll start with you.
Gary Castle.
Gary Castle.
Gary Castle.
Ooh, cut and dry. Carlson, Kinnegad, Downs. Brendan?
I'll go with Carlstown Kinnegad based on the round 1 result.
Yeah, I'd probably go with that based on the injuries that the Downs have and the fact. But if Luke did play, possibly. But the only concern I would have is Kinnegad, like they were so well in control against in the first game and let it come back, and then I suppose they did get it. But I'll go with them anyway.
It's going to be a draw.
It's going to be a draw.
Another draw.
Yeah, I'm telling you now, dude, you could not rule out a draw in this game. And like, especially if Luke plays.
Well, that's the issue.
Sure. I think if Luke doesn't play, you'd have to say Kinnegad. But if Luke plays, he won't be quite as sharp as he will be in 5 or 6 weeks' time. But he'll be there enough to cause Kinnegad lots of problems.
Yes, right. So another draw on this one, and I'd say the boys will definitely be out scratching their heads to see where they're going to go with it. Before I finish up, just a couple of little things. One
last game. The most important one.
Mullingar. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on, Alan.
Lomans. I think this Mullingar Shamrocks team, I think loads of these young lads in this team will win senior championships down the line. I just think right now it's just maybe a year or two too early for them.
I'd agree with that. I think St. Lomas will get over the line on Sunday.
I'll go for the draw, so just to see, because it's a derby and Mullingar, they'll bring the best out in each other. Like they'll be there or thereabouts.
It's really the thing about only 3 qualifying out of this group. You know, people would say, you know, if there was 4 coming out, well, it doesn't really matter. You finish 4th, 2nd, whatever. But with only 3 coming out, now I have a couple of things I want to go, but I know you're looking to get away, so I'm going to throw this question to you. Are you better off in the top, the top group in senior, intermediate? Are you better off finishing 4th or 5th?
In the top group?
Yeah. Of both senior and intermediate. What I mean by that question is, if you finish 4th, you're in limbo. But you're in the top tier next year.
If you think you can win the championship, you're better off coming 5th.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you go down to the lower group and you'll probably win all your games next year, and you'll get out of there and you get into a quarter final. If you go and you finish 4th, you're still coming up against the best of the teams next year. And there's still the same amount of teams coming out of the group.
Who's to say that this format will be here next year?
It's highly unlikely. There's going to be some debate about it anyway.
I you know, we'll see. We'll get through this year first.
But was it not Brian for 2 years minimum? No,
it'll have to be ratified again next year. And you know, we'll see at the end of this year.
Okay,
you know, whether
then the question's irrelevant.
Well, the question, but then whether you finish 6th or not, either you could be gone.
But yes, time will tell, as they say.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Double week football championships coming up this weekend, the following weekend. Our under 15 side, fine weekend in the Connacht Place, lost by 1 point. Just a couple of other things on Westmeath players. Megan Dowdall was announced as the intermediate top scorer in the Camogie competition. And I think, 8:24, 7:10 of it from play. That's a fair going, and still we didn't manage to make the knockout stages of it.
She's as good a Camogie player as there is in the country.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Absolutely.
Oh man, she would walk in and be a star player in any of them top teams. Yeah. I saw her playing out against Castown a couple of years ago, and it was she was like a senior player playing against under 14. She was that good. Yeah, and she was only a young one at the time. Yeah, so she's only going to get better.
There's a programme for the Camogie finals coming. She will get a mention in that as well. I want to give a shout out as well to, and Pat, you know him well, he retained his All-Ireland Puck Fodder title this weekend as well.
Conor Raleigh.
Yeah, great achievement as well.
Yeah. And I wouldn't mind, he played a game on Saturday, and it was at there for Westmeath under 15s, and he had to go off at half time. He got a bad 16s, he had a bad clatter across his hand, and I was chatting him afterwards. It was terribly swelled, but it was soft tissue, I would expect. He said, I'll glue it onto the hurl. He said, if I have to. I was just hoping for the sake of, I said, look, do everything you can to get it right, because you won't be under 16 again. It's a fantastic achievement.
He's some talent.
Yeah.
He's some strike of a ball.
Oh my God.
But to do that back to back,
it's fantastic.
It's under 16, isn't it? He was 15 last year.
Last year was really the year that was exceptional, because he was only a 15-year-old.
But if you look at them, nearly all them competitions, nearly all goalkeepers that are playing in it, because they're just that used to doing long striking, long pucking. He'll never play in the goals at it.
Right. Oh. Pat Burke, I didn't see any result.
Came 10th.
10th, I think.
I did see the other one. A couple of other things only. A shout out to former Loughlin against duo Camogie players Nadine Grace and Mary Doyle, who captained opposite sides in the New York Senior Camogie final last weekend. Nadine's team Liberty Gales won their first ever title. Edel Connerty of Cullion also on the side. A real Westmeath affair with former teammates of Collinstown playing and captaining against each other in the biggest games in American Camogie. So again, we're spreading the wings all over the place. Yeah. I think we're going to talk about here in the football. I know, Alan, you're in a hurry to get away, so we'll thank you for it. We'll let you go, and we'll keep the other two boys here. We'll keep them on the same side of the table as well, and we'll look back at the hurling games over the weekend. Alan, again, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon. Hurling matches, lads. I nearly should go in reverse and start at the weekend, the one yesterday, and maybe work backwards, even if that's okay with everyone. Yeah, cracking match in TG Park last night in the senior hurling. Castleingegan won 22, Loughlin Gales 27 points. I think it's the first time the Gales have got one over Castleingegan, even in a group game. Pat, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe 3 years, maybe the semi-final 3 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, they did actually. They beat them in the semi-final. The last few minutes, they got a goal just to get over the line. The year they met Harney in the final.
Fine, yes.
But no, it was. Look, the weekend needed a good game, and look, thank God we got one anyway. Because it was a great game from start to finish. And for the neutral, it really was a good spectacle. I recall there. At some stage there, at 20 minutes or 15 minutes, it was 1-8. So the scores were coming tit for tat all through, So the hurling was good, it was crisp, it was sharp. I suppose if it was the one critical thing I would say about it, there was a lot of frees in the match.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a dirty game by any means, but there seemed to be an awful lot of frees, whether, I would think the likes of Barry possibly could have let a few more roll on, whatever. People they love these type of games that they're robust and hell for leather. They don't really want to fancy watching free takers.
Yeah.
I think actually David had 14 attempts. He had at shots. Now Castletown, as it turned out, only had I think 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And there wasn't anything malicious in any of the fouling. No. So whether Castletown will have to go back and look at it and say, well, we need to tackle properly or get it right or whatever.
Yeah.
So it just seems to be.
I recall a game last year as well where it became. I think it could have been this corresponding game in the group, but it became a shootout between two free takers. David Williams scored 15 points last year. 11 of them were frees. Niall O'Brien scored 113, 10 of them were frees. Now, I know you have to score them, they have to be scored because some of them are long range. Like at this stage now, back inside your own 65 is a tap over free almost.
Yeah. Well, first off, it was a very high quality game. Great passages of hurling, especially in the first half. It was excellent. As Pat said, score for score. The honesty and the endeavour of the players, you couldn't fault it. They were really going at it, and Castletown played some great passages of hurling in the first 20 minutes. The Gaels started to come back into the game before half time. Gradually got back. It was a marvellous contest for the neutral watching it. You couldn't take your eyes off it, and even though you're talking about all the frees was in the game, it's still the momentum in the game, the end-to-end stuff was there. There was very little, as I call, rucks or there was no mulligan. It was the ball was being pinged around. The ball was flying the hard ground. Everything was done at pace, and you'd love to be going to a game like that every weekend.
Yeah.
But these two teams have served up some absolutely marvellous games over the last 2 or 3 years, and like yesterday evening was one of the better games I've seen in the last number of years in Cusack Park. Yeah,
and I think Pat said the truth. I think the hurling championship needed something. It needed something to fire it, But, some great scores taken, but we talked about Castletown in the last game against Clonkill. They were caught with a free themselves where Keane Loughlin stuck one in the corner of the net when they were expecting it to go over the bar. Loughlin Gales were caught a little bit short at the back. Yesterday, they expected Niall O'Brien to put the ball over the bar that ended up.
In the few minutes before that, Niall had a penalty. I think it was Jack Gallagher that was fouled, I think, Noel Connaughton made a fantastic save. Unbelievable. It was unbelievable. As good as you'll see anywhere in the country. But nearly in the next attack, Castletown got a free out on the 21, and I don't know what the Loughlin Gales backs were not really concentrating, but there was a 1-2 between
Niall and Jack Gallagher,
and it ended up on the net. And I suppose they made up for the missing the penalty in that passage of play. But that kept them ahead through the first half, you could say. But as the half wore on, I thought the two Williamses came more into the game, Shane and David, and they finished very strong. And I think there was only a point in at half time.
A goal.
A goal.
But I felt that David kept his free taking, kept Collinstown in the game in the first half. I think
7 points and frees in the opening half.
Yeah, my recollection here, I think, is a bit different than yours as regards the amount of frees that David scored. I have him down scoring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 or 14 frees in the whole game.
We won't argue.
Doesn't really matter anyway, but I think he kept them in the game.
Yeah,
look, I'd say Castletown would be quite happy, the fact that they were in the game all through. They only lost by 2 points. It was a point at the 63rd minute. They were waiting to try. If they had won the puck out, they possibly could have got back in, maybe get a free or whatever. They didn't win the puck out. There was two incidents that went against them, and they were both line balls that ended up being frees where the ref brought them forward 30 or 40 metres. Yeah. Now, he was correct when all is settled in the highlighted day. The first one was under the hill, and it went out. And Niall thought it was his sideline, and he hit it real quick, straight away. But as it turned out, it was a Collinstown line. Yeah. And the referee said, well, you hit the way of the ball, so I'm bringing the ball forward. Now, he was bamboozled. He was standing with his two hands wondering. And he's experienced long enough to know he didn't do it. He understood it was his ball.
You'd have to argue in that case, Pat, like what is dissent? A player can make a genuine.
I don't think there was anything against the player at all. Actually, I think the referee says you hit you took the sideline. It wasn't your entitlement.
But did the referee look on that as dissent?
I think, well, possibly if you want to define that
reverse, and gave the free to the Gales. Yeah. So I think that it was very harsh.
It was because the player in question he was 100% sure it was his line ball. So that's why he went ahead and done it, and he done it real quick. To kind of get it. And the other one then was that the under us in the stand where
Puck out.
where it went over the line. But the linesman actually had his flag up, giving it to Castletown, and Barry he was right. It was never a Castletown line ball. It was a Collinstown ball, but when Barry waved it forward, the Castletown management said, "Sure, the linesman has his flag up." And Barry said, "Well, I'm in control," and brought the ball in.
Yeah.
So there was 2 points. There were 2 sidelines.
Yeah, and look
at these things happen.
Yeah, and look at, this thing with the dissent, maybe the referees are finding their feet with it, but again, it's harsh. Dissent to me is someone haranguing the referee and telling him this and that. I don't think that was the case.
No, neither. They were disputing the fact that if the linesman waved it for Collinstown, there would be no issue whatsoever.
Exactly.
None in either incident.
Can the team captain question him in that case, or is he not taking anything from anybody?
Really, I suppose, it's not the classroom either. It's not the master and the pupil.
Yeah.
You're dealing with adults here, and you have to explain to players. Players are, they're training hard, and I think the referees owe the players a bit of respect if they're making a decision like that. Why they're making it, and not just make a summary decision and bring the ball in. I think that's. Hopefully that's something will sort itself out.
Even at the start of a game, to warn 2 captains, you're tossing look lads, any dissent from you question me, and I'm going to bring it forward. Tell your teammates, tell your management at least.
And there was an incident as well in the previous game between Clonkill and Castletown like this, and I'm not sure whether referees are doing themselves any favours making those decisions. It's an easy decision for the referee to make, but is it necessary?
Yeah. Well, look, go back to the first round of football, and we had the same kind of decision as well.
I think the rule was brought in, and I agree with the rule being brought in, but it's been brought in where a fella's on the sideline and he's howling at the referee. And you don't want that.
No.
Yeah. And in fairness, that wasn't the way yesterday.
I know, but in fairness to most management now, as I've seen this year, nobody is actually howling the referee.
Yeah.
No.
And rightly so. That's when the referee should have authority to say, well, you're part of the setup, you're annoying me, you're frustrated, and I'm going to punish you.
Yeah.
And that's fine. The 2 incidents yesterday, to the letter of the law, they were correct. But they possibly could have said, hey, this isn't your line ball. It is going the other way.
Yeah.
And let them take it.
I just have the fear that, a vital decision is going to be made, and maybe in a final.
But if that was a county final yesterday,
exactly.
and them 2 decisions were made, there would be huge grievances.
There would.
It'll be long forgotten because of yesterday's game.
Yeah.
But it could happen.
Yeah.
Going
forward,
small little bit of common sense, rather than the issue of being say, well, I'm in control here. I'm telling you what is happening, and you bring it forward, or whatever.
The Gales were very good yesterday.
Excellent.
Second half, they were 3 down, 1 by 2, a 5-point turnaround in that second half. They got some great scores.
Yeah, but they really got their intensity up in the second half. I thought that John Egan and Jason Malone there in that area, they really upped their game in the second half, and they moved a lot of ball, and they just play that. The Gales just play that high. There was nothing easy yesterday. Every ball was hard fought, but a significant passage of play for me yesterday was the game. Castletown had come from 2 points down to draw the game, and it was near the end. I think it was the 57 or 58th minute, and there was a great passage of play involving 3 or 4 Castletown players, and Jack Gallagher got a ball at the end of a lot of moves, and he pinged the ball across the field to Shane Clavin on his own, and it was a fantastic piece of skill and hurling vision. And unfortunately Shane put it wide, but that would have put Castletown ahead, and I think in the next attack the Castletown Shane, unfortunately again for him, and normally he had a fantastic game.
He scored 3 in the first half.
Exactly.
His shot ratio is 50%. But in fairness, he finds himself in these positions, and he has found himself in the positions before, but 50% wouldn't be good enough.
No, and I mean that was a significant turning point in the game. I felt that for Castletown had come from 3 or 4 points down, and they had drawn the game, and they could have went 2 points ahead, and but the Gales just kept that intensity up, and they got them scores at the end. And
Shane Williams got a good. I think Ryan
Williams got a fantastic score off the left hand side there under the stand.
Shane got one, I think,
and Shane got one as well. So they turned the screw at the finish. And look, they've been on the other end of that in previous years. Like Derek McNicholas had a fantastic game. Like a guy 41 years of age and playing at the pace and intensity he's able to do it. It's absolutely a credit to him.
Yeah, and I think there was a piece of skill on a line ball that was taken by David Williams, where he chipped over on the far side. Brendan, you might remember it back. And the skill and the hands the man has, it's unbelievable.
I know, I do.
You know, he's been operating at the top level for over 20 years and has shown time and time again his quality. And he showed his leadership yesterday evening in spades.
Before we finish up in this game, I have to give great credit to those Gales players, because it's pretty much the same bunch that's been there for the last 3 years, beaten in 3 county finals. I noticed Joey has switched up his backroom team a little bit with new faces, certainly that I wasn't aware of anyway. But John Egan, really stood up for me yesterday. He was excellent at centre back, and he's a young lad that had it underage, and he struggled to nail down a position. He could be wing forward or wing back or a corner back, but he was centre back. Yes, he did very, very well at it. And there's great credit due to the Gales fans to keep going to the well, and still, without Dan Higgins yesterday, who's probably one of their better players. Owen Daly didn't start but came on in the second half. I think there's great credit due to them.
Oh, absolutely. But there's 2 notable inclusions there. Ryan Williams and Conor McCrossan contributed 4 points from play. They didn't have them now the last couple of years, but they're 2 good additions.
Oh yeah, I mean Conor was very lively all through, and he's one of those players that he plays football with Shandona, and you can see that he's strong in the tackle, and he's well able to win that dirty ball on the ground and burst out of the tackle, and he played very well. But look at overall though, I think like Castletown, they're down 5 or 6 players from last year. They're disappointed to lose the game, but if they get a few of them players back, and that they're still a force. There's even they're there. They're going to be there in that knockout, I believe. One way or the other.
We spoke off air, Brendan, before Paddy even joined us. We spoke about him in football terms. But David Lynch was absolutely
outstanding yesterday. He himself and Shane Clavin played this kind of a double sweeper role. They're tracking up and down the field, but he covered every blade of grass yesterday in Cusack Park, and just showed all his experience. Like, he just tidies things up. Any of that dirty ball, he just seems to make the right decision on the ball. He's never under pressure. He makes the right call every time, and he can hold his head up high. Like, he had a fantastic game yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Saturday evening, unfortunately, not a fantastic game either. Clonkill 7-24, Delvin 1-13. I don't know what to say about it. Spoke to the county chairman after the game, like I was just saying about the gap that's there, the gulf that's there between Senior B and Senior A. Very, very evident on Saturday evening.
Like Delvin, I think they've played 3 matches. They've conceded an average of 43 points. It's sad and it's unfortunate for them. They don't deserve that.
No.
The likes of Seamus and the lads that are working there, but it must be extremely difficult. Like we as say myself and Brendan, coming from 2 stronghold senior club, don't understand what it feels like to be in that position. And it's difficult as a management to try and go back, train on a Tuesday night, knowing that it mightn't get any better before the season finishes, and credit has to be given to them for all staying together and giving it, I'm sure they're giving it their best, but there is a gulf in class.
Yeah.
That is the difference. And it's easy to come out all guns blazing, but when things start going wrong, your heads do drop. And that's nature.
Yeah.
The heads will drop. And they say, "Oh, sure, it's gone again." And
on the other side of things, like putting up 7-24, do you learn anything from that type of a defeat or a win? Not really. Clonkill did what they had to do, and they'll be happy to get that win on the board. But you'd have to feel something for Delvin. Like, you know, it's not easy, as Pat said, to be racking up, having them scores racked up against you. You know, they're proud out there. They won that Senior B last year, and you know, deservedly so. And it's just the gap is just so big.
Yeah, it is. I think a word of honourable mention has to go to Dara Clinton on Saturday evening as well. I think he got 1-9 out of 113. You know, certainly showed all that's good about Dara Clinton's game. Pat, you know him well, I know him well.
Yeah, I mean, Dara Clinton is a classy player. Like, if he was on any of the other 4 top teams, you know, he'd be a starter all the time. And to get more out of him, you know, because he'd be playing with more quality players around him all the time, you know. But, you know, look, at the end of the day, Delvin know their fate, but you still go out and play hurling. Hurling's a sport, it's a game, you like it, you know, you try and enjoy it. I know there's no great enjoyment if you're chasing it all the time, but the day will come again, you know. I mean, think back on we've done the replay that night, and the joy that had brought to the community of Delvin and the players and all that, you know, like, so, you know, they're a proud outfit. And, you know, just on one thing about Delvin, I noticed they have a very, very good under-14 hurling team, and they're actually playing in Division 1, and they're winning their games in Division 1, and they look a serious threat, and it's great to see it. Fantastic to see it, because I recall last year they had 2 under-14 teams, and one of them was they were clever enough, they kept all their 12-year-olds together, and the others, and now they're benefiting. These lads are learning as they go along. So it's fantastic to see a small club that has been in, say, the lower ranks for so many years, coming and competing and winning.
Yeah,
and they look good.
Yeah, and you know, look at. We all know that one team is not going to make.
No, but you have to have something to grasp onto.
But they had an under 14 team that won an All-Ireland fail. I know it was a combination team as well, and I think somebody said there's only been 2 of those players played off that team played last weekend. You know, so it's hard to keep it together. A word in Clonkill, Brandon did what they had to do. Niall Mitchell, game time into him as well.
Yeah, you know, like I said, Dara Egerton and Niall Mitchell, you know, their games, you can't beat them any kind of a game really.
Yeah.
You know, for getting you back up to the level you want to be at. But look at I think they play. I'm not sure who they play in the next round.
The Gales and Dalton, I think it's their last 2 games anyway. So they'll be hoping to get 6 points, which might give them a shout.
It might give them a shout, but you know, they're just looking forward now to the next game. Clonkill really, they want to get another win. That's their aim.
Yeah, it didn't start Keane Loughlin. It looked like he was carrying an injury into his calf, I think it looked like, but didn't need to use him, and good management there as well to rest him in a game. On Friday evening, Brendan, Raharney and Father Dalton, 3:15 to 15. Pat, you were at it, I was at it as well. You know, it was a strange kind of a game. It was something like 3-9 to 6 points at half time for Raharney, and it looked game over.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to keep the foot down at that stage.
Well, possibly, I suppose. Look at the goals, win matches, and Raharney got them at crucial times in the first half. Now, Dalton's be disappointed with the space and the freedom to give young Ahern to get in for goals.
Did he get the 3 goals?
He got 2 of them.
2 of them.
Yeah. But I mean, they opened up completely for him now. Raharney were steady, sure, they were finding their men, good passing and that. It was tight enough, yet Castledown is not that wide and congested, but they'd be a bit bamboozled to know where do we go in the second half, you know. Like, I mean, they let Daltons come back big time into it without, you know, Daltons having much of a threat for goals, but, you know, they kept chipping away, in fairness to them, and, you know, they were always chasing it with the goals that gone against them. But credit to Daltons, like Carney was very good, like, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and Owen McCabe scored 3 sidelines in that match.
Yeah.
You know, which is, you don't very rarely see. And the pitch at the moment, there's near a blade of grass to be found.
And the strange thing about it was he scored the 3 of them from the one side of the field, but both halves.
Yeah. Owen McCabe is a huge talent.
Yeah.
It's whatever is going on between county management and Owen McCabe needs to be figured out and sorted out, because Westmeath at the moment need an Owen McCabe.
Like he's flying it this
He's
year.
a huge man.
And he's a threat every time he gets the ball.
Yeah.
He has that physicality.
Absolutely.
And that, for especially at inter-county level, you need a guy like him with that size. But just going back to the game on Friday night, like, it was like the second half was disappointing. Now it was like
Harney had something like 16 wide.
Yeah, there was a lot of wides, and okay, there was a strong wind blowing into the far goal, but a lot of those were poor wides. But look, do you go out in the second half and put on another 3-9 or 3-15 or whatever? You know, we scored 6 points in the second half is all scored, and like that won't be good enough against the Castletown's and Loughlin Gales teams. You know, so Johnny Gravel will be hammering that home to them. You know that they'll have to try and improve their you know play for the full hour rather than in fits and starts.
But still, you know, it's a nice way to be, a comfortable win, really. But credit Dalton's, they're not taking the same kind of hidings as what Port Albion are getting. You know, they've lost the last 2 games by 3 goals in both games. Like, you know, so they are competitive. Owen McCabe probably could take a leaf out of Darragh Clinton's book on how to take 21-yard frees, because I think he had 2 sighters added. The defence got them, but they seem to be at a nice height. Now that's easy to stand looking at it.
The thing we used to be always talking about, Father Dalton, they were great men in the last 2 years in senior. They were getting goals, and they played 3 championship matches so far, and having found the net once this year. Like they got no goals against Castletown, they got no goals against the Gales, and they got no goals on Friday night.
Yeah, you know that was one thing that they did threaten up to now, but that's something. But saying that, they're no whipping boys anymore.
No.
You know, what I was impressed with them is their physicality. They're all big men. You know, and well able to, you know, compete physically with teams. And you know, that's, you know, they probably need another forward along with Owen McCabe.
Well, Duncan was missing, and
he was a big loss.
I mean, he's huge pace, and he's a good hurler, and he proved last year he was very good. But I mean, against Castletown the first couple of balls he was out, and he had turned, and he looked like a lad who was hurling all his lifetime. And he had probably done nothing because he was at the football club.
But look at, I suppose, three games played, 2 to go.
Yeah, but you would imagine, look, they're going to be playing Delvin in the relegation game. They're too much in hand at the moment.
I think that's the next round.
Well, they seem to have too much in hand.
I suppose one thing for me, and look, it is what it is, but it's how would you say that we've played 3 rounds now pretty much all together, and now we have a 3-week break, and you know, we spoke about it here before about momentum. It's going to be difficult now to, you know, keep lads tuned for that 3 weeks, like, especially if football.
We've 2 weeks now for football, and then we play 1 game, and then we've 3 weeks with no hurling.
Exactly.
Again. Yeah. So in the space of 6 weeks, there's 1 game.
You know, it's difficult for management teams to keep lads tuned.
And like, say, for the next round game is Castletown or Harney. Am I right?
That's correct.
And both those sets of players involved with football.
Yes.
So it's going to be very, very hard to get momentum, because obviously football managers are probably going to be looking for their cut leading into both games. And you know, we all know you can't really take time off not taking a hurl in your hand. So it's hard to get momentum back now.
On the other side of it, like the Loughlin Gales are going to be, you know, most of I think their lads are focusing nearly all on hurling, so they have no football.
Maybe they go back to Ballycamile.
Maybe they will now.
And snap it up.
Well, Ballycamile will certainly be hoping that anyway.
Absolutely. Right, we'll move on to the Senior B, lads. Saturday evening, Crookedwood 223, Ringtown 219. 2 games on Sunday. Brownstown 114, Castlepollard 114, and Oliver Plunkett's 18 points and Bridges 1-9. Start with the Wood and Ringtown. I think they heard someone, was it a Wood player or a Wood supporter, saying, well, that's 2 wins, we're safe. And I'm sure that was their aim at the start of the year, but now they surely have aspirations of going further on now.
The way they played on Saturday night, they're going to trouble anybody.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with them. And to be honest with you, we spoke about the gap between Senior A and Senior B, but this game on its own merit was a fantastic game of hurling, end to end. Like, the scoring alone was, it was absolutely a fantastic game. And you know, I think Crookedwood will be, they'll be delighted to get that win, and they'll see themselves now as challengers. If they play like that, they'll be difficult to any team. And to put that kind of a score up it's a serious shoot. But likewise, Ringtown probably just they ran out. Crooked Wood finished the game strong.
Okay.
And Ringtown just kind of died away at the end, but. It's a big win now for Crooked Wood.
Yeah.
They have 2 wins now on the
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3, and they'll fancy their chances against any of the teams to get to the knockout stages.
Yeah. Browntown and Castle Pollard draw 1-14 each, and we spoke about this last week, that if Darragh McCormick was gone for a while, and obviously he missed this game, we don't know indication of how long he's out for or whatever, but losing him brings Pollard back sort of to the pack a little bit, doesn't it?
Absolutely. He's a complete general. His ability to read, we highlighted. He's a general in the 6. I mean, he just distributes the ball, he reads it, he's able to control the game, whatever. Brownstown will feel this was one that let slip. They were in the ascendancy, they had a huge opportunity to win it. It was a good game of hurling from both perspectives. Pollard do need the likes of Darren McCormick back, they'll be disappointed with a few lads. Tierney done well, probably drifted a bit out of the game towards the end. David inside, probably there's more in him than he gave on Sunday, so look at it. There are 2 teams that are going to be, I would imagine, featuring at the end of this round robin. So it's set up nicely for them when they do meet again, if they do meet.
Yeah, that Oliver Plunkett's then 18, Bridges won 9, and just my point was going to be there's probably 4 teams there will be fighting for 3 positions. Is that fair? And then
I would say so. Yeah, I'd say you're right there.
And I think the nenext round game is Bridges and Ringtown, which at this stage looks like it's heading to be a relegation final. I think. Plunkett's 18, Bridges won 9.
Well, I would think this was one of the most disappointing matches I was ever at.
Okay.
It was very poor standard. There were so many rucks and stoppages and pushing and shoving, and there was no fluency whatsoever. Mullingar, last year we looked at Mullingar and they had 2 bites at the cherry and were unlucky not to get up to go senior. Mm-hmm. If they went senior last October in that final instead of Delvin, they would not acquit themselves any better. From what I'm looking at the moment. Okay. They just were still all over the place. I know that they lost the goalkeeper, fair enough, but they still replaced him with a very strong second choice. They did lose a player, but they should have had enough of ability, to move the ball, stretch it around, take their scores. It was disappointing. On the Dalystown end of it, 2 points from play. And they got a goal early on, which would have given them a good boost. Okay. They did have the extra player, but they didn't utilise him. In my view, the extra player stayed in the defensive when they needed somebody to have a go at and see what happened. So overall, it was a disappointing spectacle. Thank God the second game. It made it nearly look better than it was, the second game.
Because
of the first one.
The first game was very poor.
As a hurling perspective, it was poor.
Aaron Craig probably played. He played very well. I felt.
Well, he would be.
You'd expect him. He's former county hurler and all that. Paddy Lynham showed glimpses.
Very glimpses.
Glimpses.
Yeah, I'd say they're still trying their hand. It's notable they didn't play Pori Casey, and he looked actually lively when they did bring him in. Yeah. They were trying Adam Buckley at full forward, and I'd say he's going to concentrate on the goals for Mullingar. Yeah. In all honesty.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you call him is a big loss for, and I don't know what the reason. Matthew Cunningham. I don't think he was playing on. I don't
think he's featured at all.
No, and I don't know whether it's a long-term injury or whether he's away. But he was one of their top players last year in the forwards, and they're really struggling up front. I know they scored 18 points, but they were huffing and puffing really, to get them.
Where time is again, so that's where we'll push on here. Intermediate. Castdown 2-14, Raharney 1-12, Cullion 2-16. No, that's wrong. There's a 2-18 to 22 points.
2-16.
Or 2-16 to 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. And surprise maybe in the second and the last game, Clonkill 5-15, Turin 2-15. Castleton-Raharney, Brandy, you were probably at it. I was surprised when I seen that result. How someone told me Raharney had a lot of wides, but Castleton,
Yeah.
plenty of hurlers too.
All they had, like, you know, there was a fairly strong wind there on Saturday in Kinnegad, but Raharney very disappointed now that with their free taking, and but they had 7 wides in the last 10 minutes, and you know, Castletown were full value for their win. There's no doubt about that. Shane Corcoran was playing and showed all his county football athleticism.
Right.
You know, he mightn't have the
product.
end product, but he certainly moved around and won a lot of ball. And Adam Cassidy was very impressive there, young guy. I think he's a great future.
Right.
And it probably will be pushing for a senior start position with Castletown in a number of years. But Raharney disappointed. Like, it just was one of those games that just never. They got into the game in the last 10-15 minutes, but the game was nearly gone away from them. And but look, a significant in that intermediate championship now, you have 4 teams and 4 points.
Yeah.
So you know,
This could be very tricky.
this is going to be, you know, the next round is going to determine a lot.
That's it, yeah.
You know,
Cullion then one of the teams on 2 points, and I think that leaves. I think Southern Gales yet to get off the mark. If I'm
Yeah, it was a
right.
game- I actually went to this game.
Yeah, go on. Talk to me.
And very entertaining game. Cullion probably just done enough. The Jack Gillen factor. I mean, it's amazing. Jack Gillen, the striking he had, the strike of the Slitter is unreal.
Right.
He scored 3 points in the second half, and he was at the D in his own end. And it was basically he was loose, and the ball was thrown out to him, and he opens his shoulders and he can strike at the distance.
Okay.
Now they did have to move him out of. They had him in full forward. He scored a goal early in the first half. It was a good goal, and I suppose they were struggling maybe at times. They were struggling to win their own puck outs a lot of the time. So they brought him out to the middle of the field, but he's not a midfielder. I can tell you that.
Right, okay.
But if he's anywhere loose and he throw the ball out to him, you know, Southern Gales had, you know, they were thereabouts. Keane Geary scored 3 points from wing back, long distance striking as well, very, very good striking. Sean Dowd was very efficient from play, and possibly a few of his frees got away from him. You know, he chipped in with 5 points from play. It was a tit for tat. It went down the line. It's very strange. A couple of strange decisions from the officials. Like, there was a couple of points that were given that were called back from Lions people. There was a couple of ones that were wide that were called back and they were given. There was an incident at the finish where actually Southern Gales went ahead with a point where the chap actually threw up the ball, caught it in view of everybody. It stood. And the Cullion mentors went absolutely berserk, but Gillen came up to the fore again, and he got 2 of these huge long-range frees, you know. But looking at the scenario, the Gales haven't won a game, but they still can get 4 points, and 4 points could give them, because their last 2 games is against, I think it's against Raharney and Clonkill, second team.
yes, that's right.
And to have the possibility of getting, you know, they're a little bit unlucky with the results that are just fallen for them. And if they got 4 points, like Castletown and Raharney could still stay on 4 points.
They could.
You know, very easily. And Cullion definitely, I predict Cullion will end up on 6 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'll come in second in this group. Well, they'll join up with Churn. You know, you could end up with 2 6s and 3 4s.
Yeah.
Very, very simple in this competition.
Churn would have been disappointed that they didn't, you know, really nail down a knockout place against Clonkill, second team, 5-15, 2-15. Bit of a surprise score. Churn
Yeah,
had been going
I
well.
was talking to somebody who was at the game. I think the goalie for Churn had a bit of a mare.
Oh.
Well, if they look at the full back line and the goalkeeper,
Yeah.
I think they conceded 5. I think the full forward line in Clonkill scored 5-8 or something.
Yeah.
But going down the road, it'll be a good yardstick and a good wake-up call, I would say, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not going to make a whole lot of difference in where they're going to finish.
They're still going to qualify.
They will.
Yeah,
They will.
yeah.
But last year we recall they won all their games and they flowed through it. Just a little hiccup along the way mightn't be any harm whatsoever.
Reality check.
Might be
Reality
no
check
harm
for them.
whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Lads, we'll finish up on hurling there for that. We'll park in outing for the next couple of weeks anyway. You have something going on?
I've just one thing to say. We have to commend Rob Carnally, who refereed an intermediate match on Sunday with 4 brothers as umpires.
Yeah,
and I'd say
That's
Jerry Buckley may go back into his magic book and see can he find someone else
that ever did that.
had ever done.
Anyway, credit and Robbie, and well deserved on it. Lads, I want to quickly run through the LGFA fixtures coming this week as well in the senior. St Joseph's against St Lomans and Milltown against St Mary's Rochester Bridge. The Downs have a bye in that group. That's Group A of the senior. In Group B in the senior, all these games now on Thursday night, remember. Killucan versus Goldsmiths, Gary Castle versus Coruscant Kinnegad, and Mullingar Shamrocks have the bye in that one. And then intermediate championship, Loughlin Valley versus Colliery, Morse versus Athlone, with Milltown Pass getting the bye. So Tom Brown makes his debut with Athlone in the LGFA Intermediate Championship this weekend. Round of junior games also on this weekend as well. I think we gave them out last week. Lads, we're going to finish up as the rain falls down outside. I've just a couple of things. The Lake County GA Instagram page. Keep an eye on him. He updates scores and everything else there, so you can keep in touch with that. The Camogie games, we don't have any word on fixtures again. We'll have it as we go along. But thanks to Pat, thanks to Brendan, thanks to Buddy, he's gone. Ger Gavin is behind the camera bringing your pictures. Our sponsors, don't forget them. Clark's Bar here in Patrick Street in Mullingar, KC Sports, Jeanette Sheds in Kilbeggan, and next weekend on Monday, Brendan might have a longer drive or whatever we have, but Pat, if you're on duty, you'll have a shorter drive, you'll be home earlier. We're going to visit Jeanette Sheds to taking the podcast on the road. Dr.ie as well as major sponsor. The Tire Warrior Garage down in the Pigeons, you bring the wheels, we'll supply the tyres. And Mick Mannion CRVT Centre in the Vliery Industrial Estate down in Athlone. Our sponsors, we give them a shout out, give them your support if you can at all. I said before, congrats to Damien Maher and his new bride. Best wishes to Dennis Lennon. We hope to see him back here on the podcast shortly. Tom Brown was on production. I'm Ray Gammon. I think I've covered everything. Also, last thing, don't forget, we're now on the Iarmhi Aboo Facebook page to go with our YouTube channel as well. So you can get us on more places than one. We'll be on Spotify as the week goes out as well. Like and share us as well. Whatever you do on social media, we need followers as well. So do that, tell your friends, get involved with it as well. Look forward to a big weekend of football. The fixtures are there on the Westmeath website. Check them before the weekend because there may be time changes on them, so don't get caught out. Check them out. I'll be back, I think, with 2 games on the weekend on Iarmhi TV. Coruscant Kinnegad has been covered on Saturday, and St Lomans and Mullingar on Sunday, with 2 intermediate games as well on the Saturday. Castledaly and Shandona, and Milltown and Multifarm, they'll be covered on Iarmhi TV as well. So best luck to all teams, round 2 of the championship coming up. Thanks to everyone again for watching tonight. It's Iarmhi Aboo.